Hi, we are going to talk about Year 2 quality assurance. I'm Shar Perry with the Zoom team. All right, quality assurance. What is quality assurance? This should be a little bit of review from last year. Quality assurance, we want to make sure our quality is good enough to eat. Are the products good? Are they safe? And are they tender? No one likes to chew a piece of meat for a long time. We want to make sure it's a good experience for our consumers. So we're making a pledge or a promise to our consumers that the food from our livestock will be the highest possible quality, and we will do everything we can to make these products safe to eat. Why quality assurance? Quality assurance improves the quality, the food quality. We want a good experience for everybody involved. It improves the care and management of our animals. We want to make sure our animals are comfortable and they have a nice life. We want to avoid drug residues. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. And we want to increase our product value, which means we're making the best that we can so we can receive a higher profit for our product. Okay, was there a problem? Yes, that's why quality assurance programs came around. Injection site lesions were very common. Drug residue was found. Broken needles inside of the meat, and nobody wants to bite into any meat that has some broken needles in it. Bruised carcasses and poor meat quality due to the poor handling of the livestock. So who is responsible for this? Everybody is responsible. So gate to plate or farm to fork. Everybody in between is responsible and needs to make sure they do their part so we have a good, wholesome, safe product for everybody involved. So in that, we have the producer, the packer, the retail, food service, and the consumer. Those are all very important roles that everybody has to be involved in to make sure we have a safe, high quality product. As a producer, as a youth producer, you need to understand consumers have the right to expect a safe, wholesome food supply. And every producer, regardless of size, has the responsibility to meet the consumer expectations. So if you're raising one animal or 100, it doesn't matter. You still need to make sure we're doing everything possible to make sure that we are producing a high quality product for our consumers. Every producer, the 4-H industry, and 4-H program are affected when there is a negative publicity about 4-H livestock. Quality assurance practices are beneficial to the producers, the animals, and the consumers. So all of those, our animals are comfortable when they're in their house. When they're comfortable, they're gonna eat better. They're gonna gain better for us. And when there is negative publicity, it affects everybody, not just the one person involved. As it stated earlier, it comes back on the whole 4-H program. And so we want to avoid having any unsatisfied customers. We want them to have a good experience, and we want them to talk positive about our program so they're more willing to come back and support our livestock sales. All right, so your role in the quality assurance is daily care and management, prevention, handling, carcass quality, and medications. We're going to go over daily care and management. So first, we're going to talk about identification. Why do we use identification for our animals? The first one, it proves ownership. One year I had our local brand inspector call me and read me a tag number and said, "This lamb's running across the hill. Can you tell me who it belongs to?" They gave me the tag number, and I looked it up, and we were able to get the owners of the 4-H lamb. So identification and ownership is very important. How we use it to record our medications. If we have a herd of 10 black cows out there and one sick, and after a few days of medication, they're feeling better, but we need to finish out our medication. We need to know which animal we were medicating. So with that, we can use identification to know which one we're treating. To keep good management records, weaning weights, average daily gain are very important. Because there's different types of identification. On our top, we have the permanent ones, identification, which is ear notching, branding, and tattooing. On the bottom, we have our temporary, which are tag, brisket tag, and ankle bands, which on the bottom, they can fall off, get caught on something, get torn off. On the top ones, they're not going to lose them. So those are some different types of identifications that we can use. Some key points in our daily care and management is feeding. Make sure we read our feed labels. Use high quality feeds. Is it meeting is it meeting our nutritional needs? And water. Water is very important. We can't stress water enough. So reading our feed labels, all purchased feeds will have a list of ingredients, a feed analysis, and it will tell us how much we need to be feeding. We don't want to underfeed our animals because then they're still hungry, and we want to make sure we're meeting their nutritional needs with the feed we're using. Some feeds may be medicated, and we need to read the label to make sure how long to feed it. It'll tell us it'll tell us the medication that's in the feed. It will also tell us the animals that it can be legally fed to, the medication that's in the feed, and warnings and withdrawal times of the feed. So we know when that medicine will be out of the animal's tissue. So going back to the one about the animals that legally can be fed to. So this means I can't go to the grocery store and buy dog food and feed it to my steer. Same with our pigs. We don't want to be feeding table scraps to our 4-H pigs either. Only the feed that is listed for them is what we should be feeding them. All right, in our last slide, we talked about withdrawal time. What is a withdrawal time? So the withdrawal time is the time from when an animal receives the drug to when it can be harvested, or the milk can be used without having any of the drug residue left inside of it. So any type of product, we want it completely out of their system before we can harvest that animal or its products. The residue is the portion of the medication that remains in the animal's body tissues. We want to make sure we're using high quality feeds that meet our nutritional needs. It's clean and free of wire, manure, and mold. Little rodents, mice, like to live where our grain is. Our animals do not want to eat it if there's any, mouse feces in it. We want to make sure there's no wire, garbage, mold, or any of that sort in there. Birds too might like to be around our grain, so we need to keep it in a dry and clean area to keep critters out of it, away from rodents and other animals. And we want to rotate it. We don't want to keep serving them the old food or the new food and let old food, let the old food sit there. So make sure we rotate it so that it's not getting stale. All right, make sure you have plenty of clean, fresh water. Animals will die from within 1 to 3 days without water. So that depends on the temperature and whatnot. Make sure you have plenty of clean, fresh water. Shortage or poor quality of water will affect their performance. We want them to perform high. We want them to gain. So we want to make sure they have plenty of fresh, clean, cold water in front of them. A rule of thumb, we talked about this last year, how many gallons of water per 100 pounds? Hopefully you guys all remember that. It's 1 gallon of water per 100 pounds. So that'll help kind of gauge where your animal is, where it should be, and how much it is drinking. Water is very important to watch. If they're not drinking it, it can be a sign that there's an illness or something going on with them. Or, if they're not drinking, maybe we need to look and see why. Is the water trough dirty? Different things like that. But we need to make sure we're keeping a good attention to their water so we know how much if they're drinking or if they need more. All right, so now that brings us to our questions 1 through 5. Number 1, who is responsible for quality assurance? As we talked about in a couple slides previous, everybody involved, that includes you and everybody else that may come in contact with that animal. Name a type of animal ID. So in our previous slides, we talked about a couple. There were tags, branding, tattoos, lots of different ones you guys could pick on that one. Number 3, list something you can find on a feed tag. So on our feed tag, we have our list of ingredients. It's going to tell us if it is medicated, who it can legally be fed to, withdrawal times, if there's medicine in it, lots of different things. The breakdown of the analysis on the feed. Very important that we read our feed tags and we know what we're feeding our animals. Number 4, true or false. Withdrawal time is not important. Hopefully everybody knows that one. It is false. The withdrawal time is very important. We need to make sure that that medicine is out of their system before we send that animal to be harvested. Number 5, how many days can an animal go without water? Very, very important, 1 to 3 days, depending on the temperature and different things like that. I do not recommend trying to see how long you can go. Make sure they always have plenty of fresh water in front of them. All right, now we're moving on to our housing. Pens. So our housing is very important. We do not want to overcrowd our animals. We want to make sure that they're comfortable. They have room to lay down, walk around. We want to make sure their bedding is clean and dry. We want to try and prevent them from getting sick, keep them comfortable. So we're going to keep our pens extremely clean. Animals don't like to be dirty. If they have the choice, they would stay clean. So we need to make sure we help with that, prevent sicknesses and illnesses. No nails or sharp objects sticking out. It's very important. Maybe get down on your hands and knees as if you were the size of your animal. Look around, see what you see. Are there sharp nails or wires still that they could get cut on or snagged on? Something that can bruise their meat, the quality of their. So check it out. Make sure it's good. We want to make sure they're clean feed bunks and water. If you don't want to drink out of it, they probably don't want to drink out of it either. It's like leaving a dirty cup of milk. You drink your cup of milk and you go back the next day. We don't want to drink out of that either. So think about that with your animals. Make sure their feed containers are clean. Wash them out. Wash their water containers out. Don't let it get fuzzy and start growing stuff on the sides. Keep it clean. And then next we're going to talk about is our feed bunks. Are they appropriate sized? Are they too small? Can they all get in there and eat? Okay, housing, we need to make sure we're protecting them from the extreme elements. In Wyoming, we get extremes. So we want to protect them. If it's really cold, what can we do to help warm them up? Do we need to add a heat lamp? Do we need to add straw to help keep them warm? What type of things can we do? Add another slide to their shelter for a wind block, whatever we might need to do. And then same with the opposite. If it's extremely hot, do we need to add fans and misters, a shade tarp? What can we do to help keep them comfortable? Because we know when they're comfortable, they're going to gain better and perform better for us. So talking about our housing, this is just a little chart to help us. If we're talking about calves that are 400 to 800 pounds, in a barn with a lot, they need 15 to 20 square yards per animal. If we're talking about a steer, when they're 800 to 1,400 pounds, they're going to need 20 to 25 square yards per animal. We need to make sure they have plenty of room. Keep them happy, comfortable, and moving around. All right, with our sheep and goats, if it's 30 to 110 pounds, and we're talking about a building with a floor space, each head needs 8 to 10 square feet per head. If it's a dirt lot, they're going to need 20 to 30 square feet per head. If it's a paved lot, they're going to need 10 square feet per head. So depending on where we have them living is how much space they're going to need. So when you guys are preparing your facilities, think about this and how much room are they going to really need to perform their best. All right, swine. So enclosed housing for our swine, if it's a pig or nursery and it weighs 30 to 75 pounds, they're going to need 3 to 4 square feet per animal. When they're starting to grow, so 75 to 150 pounds, they're going to need 6 square feet. The animal's getting bigger, they're going to require more space. When we're finishing them out, 150 to 280 pounds, they're going to need 8 square feet per animal. So they're going to need to be moving around, their structure size has gotten larger. So just different things to think about when we're preparing our facilities for our animals. All right, now we've got a little video we're going to watch about this activity.
So we just talked about how much our animals, how much space they need, and how if they have enough space, they're going to gain better, they're going to do better, and we want them to gain better, right? Because they're going to be a better quality animal for ourselves. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to come step in my corral. This is our little corral right here on the ground. I want you all in there. All right. You have plenty of room? Yeah? Can you walk around? Are you comfortable? Could you guys stay in that spot all day? All right, now I want you to try laying down. Is there enough room for all of you to get comfy and lay down? Why not? It's too small. So when we're picking our animals and our pen sizes, we need to think about how much room they have. Are they comfortable? What about how many are in there? Do we need to make it bigger? If they're little tiny pigs and we have 2, is that square big enough, you think? Yeah, but if we have 10, is that square going to be big enough? No. So those are things we need to think about when we're putting our animals inside of our pens. What's going to make them happy? The more room, the better. You know, they want to move. They want to lay down. They don't want to be cuddled up next to somebody else, right? Okay, thanks, guys.
All right, so housing. Why is space so important for animals? We've learned that they do need to move and they don't like being crowded. Is there anything you can do to improve your current facilities that you have your animals in at home? So go home, see how big of a space you have. You know, are there nails sticking out? What can you do to help improve your facilities right now? Why do pens need to be cleared of obstructions and sharp objects? We don't want them to get cut. We don't want them bruising their carcass, their quality. So yeah, we need to make sure at home we're doing everything we can to help them have a better life. All right, so now we go into feeder sizes. What size of feeder we need depends on a few different things. So the animal size, pregnancy stage, number of times we feed them, feed quality, and with sheep, if they're shorn or not. So if an animal's pregnant, they're gonna be wider, they're gonna take up more room. So you can fit less at a feeder, and same with if your sheep is shorn or not. You know, if they've got that extra wool on them, they're gonna take up more room at the feed trough. And then if you're feeding them, how many times you're feeding them a day? Is it free choice? Is the food going to be out there all the time? Or is it once or twice a day? Depending on those circumstances helps to decide on how big of a feeder we actually need for our animals. All right, so our sheep or goat feeders, a limited feed, you need 9 to 12 inches per animal. If it's a self-feeder, you need at least 1 to 2 inches per animal. So depending on how we're feeding them, it depends on how big of a space we need for our feedlot. All right, moving on to our beef cattle. If we have calves that are 400 to 800 pounds and we're feeding them once a day, we need at least 18 to 22 inches per animal. If we're feeding them twice a day, we need 9 to 11 inches per animal. So we're feeding them more often, so the space requirement is less. We're feeding them less, and they're going to be at the feeder less at one time. If we've got our steers that are 800 to 1,200 pounds, we need 22 to 26 inches per animal if we're feeding them once a day. And if we're going to feed them twice a day, it's 11 to 13 inches per animal. All right, our next set of questions, 6 through 10. We want number 6. List one thing to consider when you're looking at your pen. So we talked about a couple different things. The size is very important. Our feeder size. Is our feeder taking up our whole pen? You know, if it is, we need to make sure we get a smaller feeder. Are there sharp objects out that could cut or scratch them? Number 7, true or false? Straw can help keep animals warm. True. It's one way we can help keep them from our extreme colds. Number 8, which needs more space, a steer or a pig? Hopefully you guys noticed in our slides, a steer is going to need more room than our pigs. True or false? A pregnant animal needs more space at the feeder. True. They're going to be larger. They're taking up more room. So yes, they need more space at the feeder. Number 10, name one reason to keep your pen clean. Lots of different reasons on that. We want to help prevent illnesses and sickness. We want our animals to be comfortable. We don't want them to have to lay in their own poop. We want to keep it clean so they're comfortable and they're going to perform better for us. All right, prevention. We want to prevent problems before they happen. Make quality assurance easier for everyone and more effective. So we want to try and avoid dangers, avoid the danger zones. So I know 4-H, depending on what project you're doing, you have these animals for quite some time. Sometimes you might be at basketball or football, whatever might be going on, and you're not home to take care of your animals. So it is important that we have a plan and that you have helped others understand why it's so important for quality assurance. So we need to teach our family about quality assurance, or whoever might be helping with our animals. We need to make sure we help them understand the importance also. We need to make sure we're maintaining our IDs. We need to keep records of the medication, if we've dewormed them, when we dewormed them, withdrawal times, all that type of stuff, how much we've spent on feed and different things like that. We need to make sure we keep all of those for our records. We need to watch for signs of illnesses. Usually if we catch them early, we can prevent death. We get them treated, get them feeling better. But we need to make sure we're seeing those animals daily so we know what's normal, what's not normal for our animals, and try and help them before it gets too bad. We want to avoid contamination in our feeds, like we talked about earlier. Keep them in a clean, dry space where rodents and birds might not be able to get into our feed. So we're going to develop a plan. Make sure we have our vaccination plans figured out. And a feeding schedule. Are you going to, have free feed in front of them all the time? You're going to feed them twice a day. Figure out what we're going to do, what times you're going to feed them. Make sure you feed them at the same time, morning and night. Follow our quality assurance methods at all time. If any problems do occur, make sure you contact a vet. Make sure you have a good working relationship with your vet. So if you are out of town and the vet, you know, whoever's taking care of him needs to come take care of your animal, your vet knows what's going on. All right, in review, what is quality assurance? So quality assurance is a promise that we are making to our consumers that we are doing everything that we possibly can to keep a wholesome, safe product for our consumers. It is important because if we get negative publicity, it affects the whole 4-H program, which it will affect everybody involved. So it's really important to do our best. And who's responsible? We are the ones responsible in making sure on our end that the quality assurance is as we do as much as we can possible to make sure we're providing a whole, safe product for our consumers. All right, daily care and management. We talked about why we identify them. Record keeping, identification, who owns them, lots of different reasons why we make sure we keep identification. We talked about the importance of feed and water. Always make sure you have plenty of clean, fresh water in front of them. Housing is really important. That's where our animals are going to be protected from the weather and the extreme weathers. And prevention. Make sure you have a prevention plan in case you do have to leave town for some reason. And so whoever's filling in, taking care of your animal understands and knows the importance of that and how it should be cared for. All right, so now we come to your assignment. Create a prevention plan in case you need someone else to care for your animal. Fill out the questions on the assignment to complete your plan. After completing the assignment, return it to the extension office to receive your credit for passing this level of quality assurance. Thank you guys for participating. This is from your YQA Zoom team, Bridger Fates, Hudson Hill, and Shar Perry. Thanks.
I can figure out how to stop it.